Bienvenue à tous. Welcome to Reporters Plus here on France 24. In this edition, we take you on a journey with two fugitives from North Korea. Young women who've been sold as slaves, forced into marriage, raped. We meet them as they begin another perilous part of their journey to their dream, a life where they're free to choose and to live as they please. The regime in North Korea is known as the most secretive and closed society in the world. But for these young women, it was where they grew up and where their families still remain. Their determination to be free, tainted by their feelings of homesickness and guilt at having left the others behind, and fears of possible reprisals for them from the Kim regime. Their journey takes them from the North Korea-China border, thousands of miles to Laos, and then on to South Korea. One day, they hope their friends and family can join them, but taking the shorter, direct route from north to south. In the meantime, adjusting to life in South Korea has its ups and its downs. Reports by Olivier Pontus and Brando Baranzelli.
If the Chinese police catch me, they'll send me back home.
It's 6 a.m. in Beijing. 25-year-old Song Hee and 23-year-old Mina are preparing to leave the Chinese capital. Last night, these North Korean women were given shelter by a volunteer with a South Korean charity. They're on the run, traveling with fake ID documents provided by the NGO.
When we first arrived in China, we were sold to poor peasants. I was sold to a disabled man. I worked hard, but people looked down on me because I'm North Korean.
Falling victim to the local mafia, the two women were forced into marriage with Chinese peasants. Song Hee and Mina allow us to film, but at first refuse to show their faces for fear of reprisal.
The Chinese police arrested my aunt after she'd spent 3 years here. She was sent back to North Korea where she was tortured. They even burnt her skin. After that, I was terrorized by the idea of going back there.
200,000 North Koreans live undercover in China, where they aren't considered refugees, but rather illegal immigrants. The journey will be long and dangerous. The women must go unnoticed, disappear into the crowd. To help them leave the country, they rely on 33-year-old Namu, another volunteer working with the South Korean NGO.
The North Koreans don't know anything about the people around them. Before I was like them.
Namu was just 17 years old when she fled the Pyongyang regime.
It's true that North Korea has a very bad image, but it's my country. I miss it because all of my childhood memories are there. It makes me sad.
Song Hee and Mina now agree to appear on camera. They're much more relaxed, but the first checkpoint once again fills them with dread.
We just passed a checkpoint. I was extremely nervous. I was really scared. It's a new beginning, a new chapter. We can't be scared, even if it is risky. We need to put all of our hope into this new adventure. It's make or break.
Mina and Song Hee are starting a new life, full of discoveries and new encounters that before were just unimaginable.
Can you ask them if they know France?
No.
No?
It's the first time I'm speaking to a foreigner. I saw some once when I worked at a hotel in North Korea. I saw an American, a Chinese person, and someone from Russia.
It's fascinating for me to see a foreigner.
Fascinating, but dangerous. Foreigners are extremely rare on these domestic routes, so we attract attention.
Say her, tomorrow be careful. Then today it's okay, but tomorrow be really careful. Very difficult today, so very important today.
Mina and Song-hee have had many brushes with danger, going back several years to when they crossed North Korea's border with China.
When I crossed the Tumen and Amnok rivers, I was scared of the water because it was dark. There was a really strong current and I panicked. I fell and hit a rock. There was blood running all the way down my leg.
It's a 44-hour train journey, covering some 3,000 kilometers. We're heading for Laos, south of the border. After traveling for 2 days and 2 nights, we arrive in Kunming in Yunnan province. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. To stop now would be risky. Namu goes in search of tickets, leaving on the next available bus.
What time does it leave?
At 7 o'clock.
Hand over 500 yuans now, and you'll pay the rest when we get there.
Laos is getting closer, but the journey isn't over yet. There's still another 8 hours to go. The trip comes to a grinding halt when we arrive at a checkpoint.
Get your IDs out. There will be an inspection.
Stress takes over. Song-hee tries to create a diversion.
ID, please.
Sir, I really need to use the bathroom.
Well, we'll be arriving soon.
Can I get off the bus, please?
You can get off, but there aren't any toilet facilities.
The inspection drags on. The officer is meticulous. The idea that the journey could end here when they're so close to reaching their goal is hard to swallow for Song-hee. Relief washes over them once the bus starts up again. The ordeal is nearly over, but questions are swirling.
I wonder what my future will be like. I ask myself if everything's going to be okay. My worries have become fears. I have sleepless nights. Will I have any control over my life?
As we near the border, we stop for the night at a hotel. Tomorrow, the 2 women will arrive in Laos, but for Namu, the journey stops here.
We'll see each other in South Korea or the US. Be careful and keep praying until you get there.
Take care of yourself.
At the crack of dawn, Mina and Song-hee finally leave China with the help of some people smugglers.
If everything works out from now on, I'll arrive safe and sound in South Korea.
All that remains is crossing the border into Laos. This leg requires a 2-hour drive in a 4x4, followed by a 2-hour trek through the jungle. The next day, we meet Mina and Song-hee in Vientiane, the capital of Laos. Pastor Chun, the man who masterminded their escape, is there to welcome them. For the past 20 years, this man has successfully helped more than 1,000 North Koreans escape from China.
In China, I was very moved by the suffering of those who fled the North Korean regime. I saw the frozen bodies of defectors who had tried and failed to cross the river. I saw women being sold off and children beaten until they were bloody before being sent back to North Korea. That's why I had to do something.
I was very worried about showing my face on TV because it could cause problems for my family who are still in North Korea. That's why at the beginning I refused to talk on camera.
You have nothing to hide. You've shown your suffering so that things like this will never happen again. People will hail your courage. But when you arrive in South Korea, you must study hard so that you can help your family and your country, okay? Most people get there and are only focused on making money. They don't think of anyone else. It's not a good way to live.
Before heading to Seoul, Mina and Song-hee will have to spend several weeks at the South Korean embassy. We go our separate ways, not knowing that one day we'd cross paths again. One year has passed since Laos. We've lost track of Mina, but thanks to social media, we've kept in touch with Song-hee. We meet her in the heart of Seoul, looking like a completely different person. Today she lives with her boyfriend, 25-year-old Min Soo. He too is North Korean, and several months earlier also fled from China. To get to Seoul, both had to trace the same steps.
I spent 1 month at the embassy in Vientiane because I needed a passport to get on the plane.
I stayed for 3 months.
I stayed for 1 month. There were around 15 of us taking the flight to South Korea. Afterwards, I was interrogated by the intelligence services for 3 months. The first question the Secret Service agent asked me was to find out if I was really North Korean. They wanted to make sure that I wasn't a spy. After that, I went to Hanwon, where I did a 3-month training course.
Hanwon is a top-secret government-run facility, usually off-limits to the media. The center gives newly arrived North Korean defectors a crash course on living in the capitalist world of the South. This is where Song-hee and Min Soo met.
When you first get there, you don't know anything about South Korea. How to pay the rent, taking care of finances, the language, the customs. Everything is different. It's stressful because we don't know where to start. That's why they teach us South Korean culture, so we can settle in more easily.
After spending 7 months under South Korean surveillance, today Song-hee can enjoy her freedom.
In North Korea, I didn't have a home. I lived in a caretaker lodge in a factory. There was no electricity, no television. All that we could see or hear was the propaganda of Kim Jong-un and Kim Jong-il. But here, I eat what I want. I sleep when I want. And I can take hot showers. I like my life now. I'm really very happy.
That's no surprise, because for Song-hee, her life changed almost overnight.
Hello, Corporal Choi Song-hee, head nurse of the 963rd Military Unit, Special Department of the Supreme Guard Command. Today I'll be telling you stories of my experience working at a hospital in Pyongyang. Stay tuned.
An incredible twist of fate. Only 2 months after Song-hee arrived in Seoul, the defector was catapulted to fame as a TV commentator for a talk show where all of the participants are North Korean, sharing stories about their past lives on the other side of the border.
In December 2012, my father passed away and we had no money. I was desperate. Along with another woman, I crossed the river into China. I was captured straight away by organ traffickers. I was terrified. I escaped and spent 3 days hiding in a cornfield. My feet were numb from the cold, and I had to go to the toilet right where I was.
With its heart-wrenching stories and tearjerker dramatization, the show is a hit, with viewers on the edge of their seats.
Afterwards, I said to myself, you will survive.
The program has not only given Song-hee a job, but also a taste of celebrity. As she makes her way home, Song-hee reflects on some of the differences between the North and the South.
It's impossible to see traffic jams in North Korea, because even if we wanted to see them, there are just no cars. A traffic jam over there would be a rickshaw crashing into a passerby. There are simply no traffic jams with cars.
Song-hee and her fiancé live in a social housing apartment in the suburbs. While she has her freedom, she still fears for her safety.
If you filmed the building, you'll need to delete the footage. It's not actually a problem for the other places, but in the future, my whole life will be here. South Korea is a developed country. You can easily tell where a person lives by the building number, and that information will definitely reach North Korea. Here we are. This is my place. This is where we sleep. It's a modest apartment, but there's a beautiful view.
Once they arrive in South Korea, each defector is given the equivalent of 10,000 euros, and their social housing rental bills are taken care of for the rest of their lives. While there are significant benefits, for Song-hee, her saga is bittersweet.
My dream was to be at home with my family. But last May, I found out that my mother passed away, and my dreams were shattered. The only family I have left is my older brother. The day I found out my mother died, I broke down. I went through and survived so many hardships, while hoping that one day we could be happy, even if we were poor. I'd just started to make a new life here when she died. I really wanted to give up everything. I asked myself who I was still living for and why.
We won't see Song-hee for almost 3 days. It was impossible to get hold of her. After our film shoot, she was interrogated by the intelligence agency. Officially, authorities advised her not to speak to us. Geopolitical tensions have recently cranked up a notch. Authorities and citizens south of the border remain on edge.
We are still in war, okay? Armistice, in a sense. When it comes to the North Korea, they are son of
That's the Kim Jong. That's bad people. Kill them. Wherever. I don't like that. Yeah, that's why in the China, Russia, they have to support to get together. That's why they want the big power.
In Seoul, the army clocks up what it says are anti-terrorist operations. Fears of a North Korean fifth column have never been so strong, especially since a recent event stirred up further suspicion about the refugee community. Several months ago, news bulletins headlined on the extraordinary story of a TV star in South Korea, a defector from the north who returned to Pyongyang.
I fled to South Korea with an illusion. I was led astray by the idea that I would eat well and that I would earn a lot of money. But South Korea isn't at all what I thought it would be.
While she achieves success in her new life, she describes, while on the verge of tears, the hell she said she went through in South Korea.
Women like me who've betrayed the motherland, what we experience, it's a physical and mental ordeal in South Korean society where everything is driven by money.
Was she pressured to go back to North Korea? Did her family receive threats? Was she taken by the North Korean secret services? Or did she return of her own accord? Speculation and rumours run rife, fueling deep distrust towards the refugee community. Between 2,000 and 2,500 refugees arrive in South Korea each year. Those who return to the north are in the minority. And for those who stay, it's not easy to fully integrate into a materialistic and individualistic South Korean society. Before we leave Seoul, Song-hee agrees to see us one last time, but far from her home. We meet her at a bowling alley in the city centre with her friends, all North Korean refugees. Could you have fun like this in North Korea?
Over there isn't any of this modern equipment like karaoke, bowling alleys or nightclubs. It's not like here. In the north, if we want to have fun, we get together to talk or dance.
Why do you keep to yourselves?
Because we have no family here, we feel alone. North Korean refugees understand each other because we went through the same thing. We have the same memories. The South Koreans just can't understand. Everything is different here. The people, the culture. That's what's difficult. For example, when I went to pick wild herbs with my father, that's the kind of thing that I really miss.
Could you ever go back to North Korea?
Go back there? Even if I do really miss it, I definitely don't want to return. That would be like digging my own grave. Why would I want to go back there?
Song-hee's gamble paid off. But how many others want to follow in her footsteps and flee the Pyongyang regime? One thing's for certain, since Kim Jong-un came to power, the country has beefed up its border controls. For North Korean fugitives, the price of freedom has never been so high.
Defecting from North to South Korea via the long and lengthy route through China and Indochina. A report by Olivier Pontus and Brando Baranzelli. This is Reporters Plus on France 24. Stay with us.